Nebraska loses a heartbreaker once again. We are all too familiar with this same movie, if you will. But the biggest concept, the biggest notion yesterday was everybody was excuses, and I do not like that. That is something that has been allowed for the last 10, 12, 13 years is excuses. Excuses why I didn't win, excuses why this didn't happen, excuses, excuses, excuses. Now, if I can get into that a little bit more, what I mean by that is players are coming out after the game saying Minnesota wanted it more. They're saying we're not used to winning. No, that's an excuse. That's what it is. I guarantee you they didn't want it more. I guarantee you Nebraska wanted to win that game more than anything. They're not used to winning. Well, what was Indiana? What was Rutgers? Right? You came back from behind.
Right.
You won those games. You know how to win. You know what to do. It's just easier to have excuses. And this is still, even with Mickey being the guy, and I love what he's doing, this is still the trail that is being left behind that is still handcuffing this team. Um, Todd, you say a great thing all the time, right? You know, excuses, everybody has them, but what is the two things that people are in control of most than anything?
The only thing you can control is your attitude and your activity.
Attitude and activity. Do your darn job, right? That's what it comes down to. More people were blaming Mark Whipple, saying he didn't run the ball the whole second half. More people were blaming Chuba Purdy, and they're saying weren't bringing in Logan Smothers enough. Do your job. That's just it. Um, the we're still having the same issues as it doesn't matter. We could have Heisman quarterback contender Bryce Young as our quarterback. He'd still have the exact same amount of time to throw as Casey Thompson, Chuba Purdy, or Logan Smothers. So, like I said, these excuses have to go away. All right, just do your job. And when you have 11 guys doing your job, good things happen to you. But if you have 10 doing their job and one not, that's when games you lose by one touchdown happen. And we can blame the coaches all we want to. We can blame what they're doing behind the scenes. Guaranteed they're handcuffed. I mean, they got to work with what you got, right? In our business, we know sometimes you're dealt you deal the cards you're dealt, and you just have to go with them.
Very much so. We are, you've heard me say, don't make excuses, make good. And so much of anything is mental. And just you rise to expectations. You know that with the agents that we bring on board. People ask us, why do we get more out of our people? Why do almost 50% of our agents qualify for convention when the company average is 10%? And the reason is we expect them to.
You hold them accountable.
Correct.
Accountability is massive. Accountability is huge. Um, is everybody being held accountable on the Nebraska football team? And that's a question that over the offseason will be answered. You'll know. Because again, I was one to pile on the O-line coach, not getting out of what he needs to get out of his players. He didn't recruit those guys. Harrison, who on the O-line did Raiola bring in?
All we really got is Hunter Anthony. That's about the only guy he really brought in. That was always a red flag for me. And we saw Mickey Joseph bringing in a lot of guys. Bill Bush, we got some special teams guys, defensive coordinator now. But, the guys that we brought in for coaches, I thought were actually great. I liked getting Mark Whipple. I thought, he was kind of bringing Chuba Purdy. And Chuba Purdy just really hasn't had that game yet where he looks comfortable. Like kind of we're saying before we got going here, it's just we thought the run game looked great. But they just started to load the box. They're daring Chuba. It's like, okay, we'll break this up, but until you get a pass downfield, this box is going to be packed because you killed us on that, first two drives. Touchdown, 10 points, and then they go on a 20 scoring run unanswered, 20 points, and they just kept loading up the box until we, proved that we can make a throw downfield. And it wasn't until the fourth quarter when Logan Smothers finally broke that up, and it was too late.
Exactly. So all these fans, and I listened to every post-game show last night. It was great. That's one thing I like about 11 kickoff games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you get to hear everything, and then you get to watch college football for the rest of the day. So I am a huge fan of that. But like I'm 41 with two kids, so I'm usually up at 5:30 every morning. So 11 o'clock games, I don't mind those whatsoever. Michigan next week at 2:30 on ABC. The path got more difficult. Excuses only go as far as you throw them. And when you play a team like Michigan, there's no room for excuses, right? There's execution, and that is it. Now, getting on to the people piling on Whipple. All right, let's talk about that. Run the ball more. Well, I was at the game. Everybody watched the game. We seen it. In the second half, right? Everybody wanted to run the ball more. Why do we get away with it? Why do we get away with it? Well, Minnesota adjusted. They stacked the box. Nebraska still tried to run the ball. In those 6 drives that we went 3 and out, Harrison, how many times did we run the ball those drives?
When we went 3 and out,
Mhm.
I mean, we were running the ball. It was 3 and out. We were just passing it every time. We couldn't run the ball anymore. I will say the reason why it was so glaring is, I mean, Anthony Grant, he had nearly 100 yards, just through the first quarter alone. And then we'd finish the game only rushing for about 146. So we only got about 30 yards after that. And it's like you said, they just switched up their game plan, and we had to adjust, and we just couldn't do it.
Yep. And with Grant, he is amazing when those shoulder pads are facing the end zone, running north and south.
Mm-hmm.
But if teams really want to slow him down, Minnesota adjustment, what they did in the second half is made sure that those shoulder pads faced east and west. And so once again, he got into that situation where he tries to bounce it too much. He's going lateral instead of vertical, and it showed. Play calls were there, though, in the second half. And if people don't want to hear this, that's fine. I'll be honest about it. Play calls were there. It's just execution.
I mean, we had some drop passes, like we're saying on the break too. Some huge drop passes. Trey
Mhm.
Palmer, he's a great receiver, but I mean that's going to hurt his, NFL drafting.
Mhm.
If he's got to learn to catch with his hands. He does he always catches with the body. If you ever watch Trey Palmer, it's always a body catch. He really struggles to put his hands out in front of him and catch the ball. So, like you said, there was plays to be had. We just didn't execute.
And the one that needed to be the body catch was the 4th and 5.
Yep.
Coming across the middle there where he dropped that. He gets close, secures it with his body, get ready for the hit. We're good to go. But that's one where he reached out, had the defender come in the opposite direction, and I think he saw him out of the corner of his eyes, and that's why
he
the
looked
ball
away right
went
at the
down
end there.
The thing that worries me, though, is a lot of media are using the phrase Mickey looked dejected after the game. And I don't like that because that's where Frost started going downwards as well. If you think about it and think back to it, and you think about what all the media said was when Frost started losing those close games, he just started looking dejected. He just started getting wore down. You could see it. And by having them say that about Mickey, I don't like that right now. I really don't. I see fire in Mickey, not dejection. I see anger and being upset at the fact that, like I said, these aren't his guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is not his guys. So, Mickey, Whipple, like I said, they're doing the best they can. You play the card you're dealt. Next up is we're hearing different coaches' names, right? And there was speculation and rumors Thursday going around, and it was absolutely crazy. And you let one fire, right? Let a match off in a grassland, just watch it explode, and that's what happened to social media. But there is some factual statement coming from that as far as 4 names that are rising towards the top. Now, of those 4, for Nebraska fans, those aren't the big names that they wanted to hear. So in this situation, what are you thinking about doing? I mean, you have a guy like Mickey that's still recruiting and bringing in good guys. And that's what folks have to realize. What do they want as a head coach? Okay. You can have a guy that's going to develop a staff, right? And have a really good staff and hire recruiters. Or the head coach's main responsibility is getting in the best players humanly possible, and then we'll develop them. And that's the route that Nebraska has decided which way they want to go. I personally like what Mickey's doing. I want recruits. I want big names, and I guarantee he can bring them in. And then you have people saying, well, what staff is he going to bring in? How can he find somebody? Good Lord, how long has Mickey been around the coaching industry? Do you think he knows some people?
I mean, he's definitely, like you said, he's got those connections down in LSU. I mean, that's how he's getting a lot of his guys. And if you look at his recruiting trail, I mean, he's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows how to get the guys. And I mean, he made it a point. I'm sure you heard some quotes. Like he's had meetings where he is very aggressive on who he wants.
Yeah.
And he will call that guy that day if he realizes he doesn't have offers. And he doesn't hesitate to pull the trigger on getting a guy that he wants. So, with this coaching search, a lot of the names you look at too, just look at their first year, like Lance Leipold, first year as a Power 5 head coach, 1-8.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Mickey Joseph's already got 2 under his belt as first year as Power 5, starting with Big Ten play. So you got to be, I mean, you look at the other coaches that we want so bad and just look at their first year head coach at a Power 5. And it almost makes you have a little more, optimistic for Mickey Joseph.
Well, I'm sorry, Bob. You had a great point there. He didn't start with the North Dakotas and the Iowa School for the Blind and whatnot. He started right away in the Big Ten. So that's a great point. I hadn't even thought of that.
Well, the nice thing about Mickey as well is he's getting experience, and that's just it. And the greatest thing Nebraska has going for them, especially for next year, and a lot of people don't like it, is the NIL and transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you can reach in there and grab players that you want. And everybody's saying, it's a big decision for Trev Alberts. Well, you're darn right. This is his career, right? He can't mess this up. Right. So if he goes with Mickey, he knows his career's on the line. So he's absolutely picking the very best. I just feel bad for him because I truly believe if Mickey got a win yesterday, the fan base would have gotten more towards Mickey, and Trev Alberts could have had made the decision and got it done with, and now we're moving forward. So when he goes and talks to recruits or talks to other players or other coaches, they know that there's already a guy in place for next year.
I'm glad Trev has that decision and I don't.
Now, Todd, you and Harrison went to the Lincoln Stars game on Friday. How was that?
It was a good one. Always fun. Pretty full place there. There wasn't a whole lot of empty seats at all. Lincoln pulls it out 1-0 over arch rival Omaha. There was a good fight. It was a good time. It was very good. The Stars are rolling this year.
Yeah, they I think they scored in the first period, and then after that, I mean, they survived a ton of power plays too.
They did.
I felt like they got the shorter end of the stick. I don't know what the stats were, but it felt like we were playing, on a defensive standpoint. They had a ton of power plays. It felt like the entire game, and our shout out to our goalie. I mean, our defense locked up all game, and you can just tell those teams don't like each other. Between Tri-City and Omaha, I mean, Rocky Russo has a show on here with Joel Norman. And he was saying they probably play Tri-City and Omaha, probably make about 37% of their schedule. They just play them so many times throughout the year. So they're gonna have to see him again. I mean, it's not over. And I think the last game before that they lost 3-0. Now they won this one 1-0. So it's just gonna keep going back and forth. It'll probably be a good series. But Lincoln Stars, I think they're still number 1 in the West now. I believe so. Yeah, they're having a great season. And Rocky Russo, 2 years in. Man, I hope we get to keep him. I mean, he's so good that I wonder what his offers look like as he continues to rack up wins here.
Stars projected to win it this year.
I'd imagine. I'd have to look it up, but I mean, they're pretty. I mean, winning the West right now and the depth that they have, I wouldn't be surprised.
Did you see the size that Omaha's goalie? That had to be 7 feet tall.
That's what my girlfriend was pointing out. They're like, that guy's huge. He plays goalie. And she's like, wouldn't you want to be a little shorter so it'd be easier to cover the goal?
All he had to do was just fold himself in half and stick his butt in the net. It was full.
Kind of like that Mighty Ducks goalie, right? The big guy could just take the whole space right there.
This guy was 7 feet tall, I swear.
And the amazing thing is how old are these kids? I mean, literally, they're kids, right?
16, 17.
Yeah, the one
barely just got the driver's license.
Yeah, some of them are in high school, in other states where they're just taking it all online here in Lincoln. I know we just talked to one kid last week on the show. I think he's only 16 years old, and he's on that Lincoln Stars team, and it's such a unique league because some of those guys are legit NHL prospects. So it's like you're watching young kids that are potential NHL players, and some of them are a little older, but it's just a unique league, and everyone plays their hearts out.
And they're huge.
Yeah,
they're big. I mean,
it's pretty good size.
I've always said the greatest athletes is no offense to anybody else, but hockey players. For the reason is,
hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here.
Quick little promo
right
we'll
there. Fix that over the break. I forgot what's going on there.
Honda Lincoln Hotline, 402-464-5685, 464-5685 if you want to get a hold of us, or the Starter Heyman text line. Todd, how can they find us on Facebook?
They can go to American Senior Benefits Lincoln. They can give us a call at 402-614-9292.
Yeah, getting into it. These hockey players are phenomenally huge. 6'2", 6'3", 240 on ice.
Yeah.
I have a hard time just walking on flat cement. with no ice, let alone that. It's just amazing their balance coordination, hand-eye coordination, and then when they rock you against the wall,
Their stop and go ability is what amazes me.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, how you can stop from full speed and in a foot and a half and go back the direction you were just going. Yeah, they must have ankles like tree trunks. I wonder what they feel like at age 60 when they're trying to get out of bed. I wonder if their ankles are singing at them.
Probably are.
As I near that more and more, I wonder those things.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about that. I'm the young one here still.
I think Harrison's got you, but
Harrison's got me a little bit. Well, I'm telling you, once you have kids, man, it's a blessing. It truly is. But those white hairs start coming out. They do. Houston Astros last night win the World Series. Congratulations to Houston. You know, all the back talk, the trash talk, trash cans, really, no pun intended. They got it done again. It was a tough series against the Phillies. My son's a huge Houston Astro fan, so I loved watching every second with him, making memories. That's what it's about. Astros were just a complete team. And I was telling him, the Phillies need to have a complete game to beat the Astros. They can't have a defensive liability or lapse, and it showed, and the better team won. So congratulations to Dusty Baker, Houston Astros. Amazing job. No trash cans needed. They got it done.
It was actually an entertaining series. I'm not the world's biggest baseball fan, but I watched more of this one this year than I have in a decade probably. And it was entertaining. It's nice to see it go, 3-2, 4-2 versus just a rout. But no, it was fun.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. So baseball's done. Basketball's picking up. Husker basketball plays Maine Monday. Is that right, Harrison?
Yeah, Monday they got another one, I believe. Let me look up the time here.
Is it the Black Bears of Maine? Is that right? Yeah, right.
You would think they'd have like a seafood thing, right?
The lobsters?
The
Maine lobsters?
The Maine lobsters, yeah.
Yeah, so tomorrow, 7 p.m. Maine, and I think it is the Maine Black Bears. You're correct.
Yep, and that's here at Pinnacle?
Yep, at Pinnacle Bank. And then we got another one. Omaha comes in here at Pinnacle Bank again, and that's 7 o'clock November 10th. And then we start going on the road November 17th. So we got a couple games here at PBA to kind of open it up and hopefully finally see the 3-point shot falling.
That's what I was just going to say. Again, stop with the excuses, people. Stop. It's not going to work. It's execution. Basketball, Hoiberg. He's running some phenomenal play calls. He really is. He's getting the open shots. They're just not knocking them down. And then when they don't hit their shots, who does the people blame? The coach. Well, man, why is your players not making their shots? They should be. Well, I'm not out there shooting for them.
It's bizarre. I can't tell you why the 3-point shot just hasn't been happening for those guys. Because all the guys he's recruited are good 3-point shooters. They have track records. He's not recruiting guys that have a broken shot. And it's I really don't have a good answer for it.
Nope.
Because the shots are there. I mean, they're wide open, especially as the season progressed last year. They were really wide open because teams just weren't respecting us out there. And we just got to knock them down and that'll free up so much. Give Derek Walker a chance to really do some damage inside. But yeah, I don't know what's going to take other than, Sam Griesel's a huge addition. We've already seen that pretty early.
Yep.
Not just his, offensive scoring, but his playmaking too. He's a little better playmaker than I even realized. With that height, he can see the court so well.
His leadership, his ball handling skills, like I said, his ability to find the open man is going to be a very big benefit for us this year. But when finding that open man's got to knock down the shot. And that's just all it comes down to. You're listening to the American Senior Benefits Family Hour here on 93.7 The Ticket alongside Todd Riley. I am Jay Stoll. Harrison is manning the machine behind the scenes. Getting into it a little bit more. Michigan, we're going to play NFL running backs. Wisconsin, we're going to play NFL running backs. Iowa looks like they just found a running back, right? Always works out that way. So the D-line.
You're going to play a community college quarterback, but
yeah. Well,
no offense to all community college quarterbacks.
Well, Ibrahim ran the ball 32 times yesterday.
Yep. Anthony Grant was 21 carries.
I don't want to see what Braylon Allen's going to get at temp-wise. Michigan, that should be a fun one right there. And then Iowa. So, Nebraska's got to get down and dirty. Like I said, cut with the excuses. control your attitude and activity, do your job, and good things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Good things can happen. So that's just the next step they're going to have to do moving forward.
Yeah, it's at the big house too. And this Minnesota game, it's like we didn't have to play phenomenal to win that game. We had to play a good game, had a good game plan. But you didn't have everyone needed to play perfect in order to win that one. It felt like Michigan, you're gonna have to play incredible on every aspect of the field.
Very much so.
But here's the thing: 10 guys played perfect, one guy doesn't, and this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if they can just get it done, that's going to be the biggest thing. Now, any word on Casey Thompson?
I guess he was. So they said he was good to go, or not good to go, but he was, wasn't necessarily out of the question going into this game. So I don't know if they're just saying that to keep Minnesota on their toes to prepare for it. I'm sure that was part of it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Casey Thompson this week or maybe next week. We really don't know how bad it is. And the fact that they were kind of hinting it's a day-to-day thing that he might be a game decision, I wouldn't be too surprised if we do see him next week. And we'll know more Monday and Tuesday when we get to talk to the coaches again.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's out for the season. For the reason why is there's a lot of people I talk to, and I got somewhat of a medical background as well. And when you're talking nerve entrapment, nerve damage, that's very concerning because that is feelings of your hand. That's feelings of your fingers coming and going,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't want someone that can feel the ball 1 second, the next second can't. When they announced that he got injured, and I was hoping it's going to be structural, maybe a strain or sprain. But then when they said more, it's nerve damage and he's losing feeling below the elbow, that's concerning.
What's the recovery look like for that? Do you know?
It's all about when no, everybody's different with nerve damage. That's just it. With a sprain or strain, you can ice it, you can rehab it, you can do some physical therapy, you're good to go. But deal with nerves, that's a different animal right there.